Kanye released a statement saying that Donda 2 is coming out February 22nd, 2022, and it's going to be executive produced by Future. Side note, on that same day, he's having a fashion show that's going to just hire homeless people on Skid Row, and he's donating all of the proceeds from that event to the organization that closed the homeless people that are on Skid Row. It says
No,
like
that's good.
60,000 homeless people out there on Skid Row right now, estimated. It's crazy.
It's terrible.
It's
It's
terrible.
awful. No, that's very admirable. As far as the music is concerned, I just hope that he doesn't put the engineer through slavery like he did on part one. So
Sounds like
that's,
he's taking his talents to LA this time around. So
that's fine. But
Donda 1 was in Atlanta.
the engineer is who I'm thinking about this time around, Mike. How about that? I'm
So,
looking out for the engineer. Can we not put the engineer through slavery?
well, with Future being the executive producer, it might be done in Atlanta again. Who knows? Yeah, everybody press the like button. Make sure you subscribe to the page and click the bell icon, all that stuff. Tell a friend that we live. We talking Donda 2.
No,
You
we're
didn't
not.
think a lot of Donda 1. I like Donda 1, and
There's
it's
not a lot to think
interesting.
about.
It's interesting because you went to the listening event, the first
There is
one.
not a lot to think about. It's
Tell the
not
people, hold
that
on, cool.
good.
Tell the people, because I know we have a lot of new listeners now. Tell the people what your experience was like when you went to the listening event, the first listening event
No,
for Donda in Atlanta.
the experience was very memorable. I saw the range of his audience. I saw the full motion of his power to draw people in. You can feel the energy. He has legitimate stands, which I had never seen really live before. Last time I saw him, it was early on before he had rose to become the figure that he was. I hadn't seen him since then. So I can contextualize the effect of what it was like to see him early and seeing him late. And so that was probably the biggest difference for me. I told you, Mike, I was in the stadium next to a guy that from the moment he came out, held his phone up like this and did not move for the entirety of the show while he was next like this because he wanted to catch every single moment. Like Mike, before the show was starting, he was clearing out space next to me. It was serious.
It's historic.
No, so it's historic and it's special. Music don't slap like that.
I think I didn't.
Next, when I go to a Prince show, Mike, when you went to the Michael Jackson show, you know what we got? We got that effect and we got the music that came with it. You want to know what this didn't have? The music that came with it. I just want the music
I was
to
gonna
come.
ask you though, what do you think that? And I know you said this in previous episodes, and we could talk
I don't
about
care what
this
your subject
further
matter is.
now. What do you think that Donda lacked mostly?
Engineering,
Okay,
consistency, quality, clarity, conciseness, editing.
it did seem like there was a lot left on the cutting room floor.
Shit's a mess.
You know what? I can see that. I think the things that I took away from it that I actually liked were just the mixing and matching of people that were actually on these tracks and the subject matter that they were able to take on. I think I said during our review that he was able to take guys who don't really talk about much in their music and get them to dig in and talk about something.
No,
But
that's
I do
admirable.
understand what you're saying there. Sonically, it wasn't appeasing because even with all of those things that were pulled from it, there's a way that the quality control could have been at a better state. It could have been polished a little bit more, but I
A
feel
little
like
bit.
artistically that's where he was going, what he was going for. Not such a polished look. He started that with Yeezus, man, and I think that
Mike,
that's kind of a
Mike,
Rick Rubin-ish type of mentality. You know what I'm saying?
Mike, if it's gonna sound like Enter the Wu Tang, it needs to sound like Enter the Wu Tang. Like you don't get away with that if it's not there. You get what I'm saying? That
Yeah.
sound you're talking about, that in the basement sound. Oh, it works when the MCs are gritty and they're grimy, and you can feel the hunger in the beats and in the MCs, and the energy is there. But when you just try to make it sound gritty and there's nothing gritty about it, slavery to the engineer.
So you think digital artists, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but people who, I mean, look, people who are of like the auto tune era, their music has to be a little bit more polished to be, at a high level. Because again, when you're talking about Into the Woo, these guys are gritty MCs and they spitting, so it's like that kind of matches. But
Matt
the auto
makes it.
tune era of MC, and you have to be a little bit more polished with your approach.
I don't say it have to be polished, Mike, but okay, so let's what he was trying to do, or at least, as far as my eyes can see, is that he was trying to put the best version of a hip hop gospel album that he could together.
Yeah,
Correct?
yeah,
Okay, that don't need to sound dirty. That need
yeah,
to sound clean. You feel what I'm saying? Because if that's what you're trying to pull off, that's something that the crispness and the exactness and the preciseness of it needs to come through, so that prospective listeners who are going to judge are going to critique it on the merit of the musicality of it as well. He's a producer. The musicality isn't strong, as in virtually non-existent, as in sparse, as in baseline driven and not much more, as in all over the place and poorly engineered, as in a mess. He's one of the greatest producers that we've ever seen.
yeah.
What?
Someone in the chat is saying that Nasir's mix was a mess too.
Yes, it is. They're right. The delay on it was the mix to get Puffy's verse on, and it still sounds terrible.
That's interesting, man, because weeks before that we got Daytona.
This shit don't work sometimes. It got to match. This doesn't match. This doesn't match the engineering and the sound space and the soundscape of it. It doesn't match the message that he's trying to convey. It doesn't match the vision. It doesn't match anything that he's trying to do. That's
I
why
don't.
it sound like slavery.
I'm not trying to make excuses for Kanye, right?
You
But
are,
I
but it's okay.
no. I think that he attempted. I think it was done like that purposely.
Oh,
But
it
when he
was?
but when he does those things, it
Yeah.
doesn't translate as well as like you said, into the 36. I think that's what he's trying to get to because he's always talked about how his drums don't hit like, what I'm saying, like Timbaland, or his drums don't hit like even Just Blaze. He's giving Just Blaze that props. He said his drums are weak. So when he needs stronger drums, he goes to other people for that. I think he understands where his shortcomings are. And I think one of his shortcomings at this point is making like that raw sound where it's like
No,
you're not bailing me out with I hate to say this, with like a 6-piece orchestra or something. You know what I mean? Like he's
I do
trying to
understand.
find a way where he can make some dope stuff that is totally simplified, and I don't think he's mastered that yet because when y'all bring up Nasir's mix, he probably was going for like a raw sound that he wasn't going for on Daytona, and it just didn't work on the Nasir because he did everything perfectly the way he knows how to do it and is comfortable doing it on Daytona, if that makes any sense.
No, that makes perfect sense. But here's what. Okay, so Mike, he did pull it off actually before. My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, gorgeous.
But see, that's a polished album.
No, but that song is the most unpolished song on there.
It
And it's
is.
noticeable, but it
It
still
is.
sounds beautiful. You want to know why? Cuddy and Ray are on there. There's a grittiness that they brought to the track. It made sense. This don't make sense because here's what I have to say, because this is what I mean when you're talking about he's getting them to talk about, like Mike, when gospel music is meant to fill the spirit, okay? And so that's what I'm talking about, making it clean and making it crisp for the ears to hear. It's something that's supposed to fill. You're not supposed to be worried about the muffledness or something. Everything's supposed to come through clearly. You know what I'm saying? So if he's trying to reenact the Psalms, it's like, oh, well, David didn't need shit but a guitar and a tambourine and some words to get his point across, but it's clean and it's clear. You read the word, it's clean and it's clear. This is not clean. This is not clear. If he's going the gospel route, the message needs to be clean and clear on all levels to get the point across properly, because the point of gospel music is to fill the spirit. So all this throwing it in the mud, is like he can try to play that game with other people who don't read the word if he wants to, and that's why I'm telling you about some of my issues that I have with some of the stuff that he says. It's like, oh, tell that to somebody that doesn't read the word. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Don't tell that to me, and don't try to sit up here and make this poorly engineered, poorly pieced together album like some sort of timepiece that it's not. It doesn't sound good music wise on a few levels, mostly production, from a guy who made his mark as what? A producer.
Well,
It's
he was
not
definitely the producer on Donda as well, like because it was so
good,
featured
and it's not a
heavy.
good, and it's one of his worst production jobs, if not his worst production job. It's probably his worst production
I
job,
think the
Mike.
thing is, I think that he's made comments in the past saying that he's shown that he can make a perfect album for himself with My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, and with B, he's
Yep.
able to bring the best out of Common, or with John Legend or whatever. He said at this,
Daytona Blueprint.
and he's always said, yeah, that when it comes to him, it's like it's time to experiment now. Like my job as a producer artist is to fuck shit up and see what sticks. The problem here is it wasn't just him. And it was a bunch of other artists that you pulled into this melee, and it didn't really connect a lot for them. It might have been a little bit better if it was just him, but who knows? Because I wasn't even a big fan of that Yay album. I don't ever listen to that. The
I
one
listened to nothing off of there.
I listen to
Um,
Yikes, but that's about it.
yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Um, you want to know what? First of all, you need somebody to tell him no around him. Just in my humble explanation, be like, no, that's not going on there. Like that
Yeah.
ain't it. No.
I mean, based
So
on Daytona, it sounds like Pusha might have said no a few times.
I think that might be the guy that needs to say no because they appear to be, still close. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So he needs to be the guy to say no. Mike, I mean, the shit that you're doing for Pusha, transfer that over to what you're trying to do over here because Pusha shit that you do for him, it be coming through clean and crisp and with clarity. That's what I'm talking about. It's like if you want people to hear the message, you have to deliver the message in a way that people want to hear, which is clean and crisp. Don't nobody want to hear Into the 36 Chambers, the gospel album. You see what I'm saying? Don't nobody want to hear that.
No. No, you're right.
Why is nobody saying this but me? Why is
But
nobody
I mean,
saying this but
I
me?
don't know
It's kind
what
of very
this.
problematic that nobody is talking about like how like this is the worst production job of his career. It's poorly engineered. It's poorly pieced together. I don't give a shit if it has a few highlights. I don't.
Well, Future is going to be executive producing the new one, so we'll
Three
see where that
bands.
goes.